republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. We're going to have the reading of the mission statement from Jackie.
Macomb County Community Mental Health, guided by the values, strengths, and informed choices of the people we serve, provides quality services which promote recovery, community participation, self-sufficiency, and independence.
Thank you. Can we have a motion to adopt the agenda?
So moved. Support.
We have a motion and support. Any discussion? Okay, all in support? Any opposed? Motion carries. We're going to move on to hearing of the public. Anybody in the public that would like to come and speak?
Just real quick, tonight you guys are voting on 7E. I know it was already approved by program and budget, but through all the grant funding, this is the tangible stuff that we like to give out to the public. I know some of the newer board members might not have seen some of this stuff, so there's ink pens, there's stress balls, there's dental kits for the homeless individuals, there's all sorts of goodies in here, first aid kit, and even integrated care sunblock. So various things in here. If I could just pass it around, you guys can look in the bag, and if there's anything anybody wants, go ahead and help yourself.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
We're going to move on to item 5, approval of the minutes. Can I get a motion?
So moved.
I don't need to.
Lori,
I have
support?
stuff my wife will like.
Dana or Julia? Any comments on the minutes? Okay. All in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries. Moving on to item 6, approval of the standing committee meetings minutes, which was the CMH program and budget meeting from 9/10. Motion?
Or,
Antoinette and Wayne. Any discussion on those? Any? Okay. No? Okay, all approve? Any opposed?
I abstain. I wasn't here.
Nick is abstaining. Thank you, Nick. Motion carries. Moving on to item 7, request to approve. We have already approved 7A through C and E and F, so I'll take a motion to approve A through C, E, and F.
So moved, Phillips. Support. Julia.
Any discussion? TJ, Tracy? Nothing? Ken, Tony? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. We're going to move over to item D, and I'm going to turn that over to Tracy.
This particular one, if you notice, it still says pending legal review. We did get it late. I believe we got it a day or a couple days before the previous committee meeting. We have not had a chance legally and operationally to look at this document. Based on that, we are actually recommending you table this and bring it to the next meeting for consideration.
So moved.
or,
Okay. Any comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries to table 7D. We're going to move on to 7G. It's a new item. Request to approve MRS Interagency Cash Transfer Agreement, ICTA number 336 for $497,630. This has already been approved by legal. That was not updated. And Helen.
Yeah, so good evening. Just to give you a little update, this really applies to both the mental health and the substance use agreement that you'll see in here, is that we as CMH, we provide some dollars to Michigan Rehabilitation Services. They target that money to serve individuals that are within our system. With that money that they get from us, they're able to draw down additional federal dollars to really expand how much money that really comes out to in the long run. So it really makes that little bit of money we give them go a lot farther, and it allows them to do some services that normally wouldn't fit perfectly under their normal scope of things that, people, if they just went in on their own. So this is just a continuation of what we've done for multiple years now. It's been proven to be very successful, and they really seem to know our population quite well and can really help out with the services that they need and tailor them.
Thank you. And I apologize, I went out of order. I should have taken a motion to approve. Thank you. We've already heard from Helen. Nick?
Helen, we've done this for a lot of years, and it makes sense to me. But in each of these, there are certain, I guess, deliverables, number of people to be served, Do we have any report on whether or not people actually got jobs as a result? How many people were involved? What the results were in, say, the last year or so?
Yeah, so what MRS will do is after the end of the fiscal year, they will generate a report. I think we typically get it around December-ish, if I'm not mistaken. And so they'll send one for the mental health funds we contributed and one for the substance use funds we contributed. And it'll spell out how many did they serve, what were the outcomes based on the goals that were in the agreement.
And based on what you've seen in the past, have they been meeting the goals?
Yeah, I really feel that we've been getting, what we put into, we are getting, outcomes from that.
Thank you.
And can I just add, we do meet with them, so we read it, and then we also have a discussion about, like, let's say they're meeting it, but maybe we want to go a slightly different direction.
Change a little
They're a
bit.
great partner, because they take that feedback of kind of what could be done better, differently, that type of
Right.
thing, so.
We've done it in the past, I know it's the next item, but with the substance use, for example, people who were receiving medication-assisted treatment, they wouldn't serve years ago. They really shied away from that, thinking, oh, they can't have a job, they're gonna not pass their drug test, and it's like, so we educated, we worked with them, and so they put a target in out of the percent of people that they would serve a portion and directly market to that group, because it was so underserved. And so, between those discussions with them to kind of help tweak a little bit of what we needed based on what we were seeing as gaps, they were able to help fulfill some of that need.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Okay. We have a motion on the table. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item 7H, which is similar to 7G, but on the substance use disorder. It's a new item, MRS, Interagency Cash Transfer Agreement, ICTA FY26, number 3313, substance use disorder for $14,815. Do we have a motion? Did you get that? Tracy?
Oh, this one's
Or
actually
Helen? Yep,
Helen,
Helen?
similar to what she was just talking about.
Yep, same kind of arrangement and things. As I mentioned, we've met over the years to kind of help adjust and tweak a little bit of the services being provided. Under this one in particular, they provide the services to individuals that are enrolled in our substance use programs. They really tailor it to people in recovery. So really kind of helping them keep focused on staying in recovery, but how do we, do the skills necessary to become employable and employable long-term, because some individuals in early recovery, they'll just go get any job. But the difference with MRS is they can get them more of a lifetime, substantial income, sustainable living type arrangements. So they're really great at doing that. And it also they also typically do an education with their staff. So the substance use provider that they contract with will come in, educate their staff on substance use needs, early recovery, things that they might want to be aware of, and kind of helps reduce some of the stigma and also provide that awareness for them.
Thank you. Wayne?
It says pending legal review. They haven't looked at it yet?
It has been reviewed by legal.
Oh, it has?
Items G and H, it says pending. They have been already reviewed.
Oh, okay.
It just wasn't, got printed before we could update it. Thank you. Any other questions for Helen? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item 7I is a new item, MISD Contracted Services Agreement, Maple Lane, Rockwell, and Neil Reed, July 1st, 2025 through June 20th, 2026. That's been approved by legal. Do we have a motion?
So move.
Just, Tracy?
This should also feel repetitive to you. This is an agreement with the Macomb Intermediate School District. We provide them with 3 master-level clinicians. Each one of them are scheduled in an elementary, middle school, and high school. They're specialized schools. If you're not familiar with the names, it's Rockwell, Maple Lane, and Neil Reed. They are covering the cost during the school year. So for 9 months, they cover the full cost, benefits, everything for those individuals to provide direct services in those facilities. And then the other 3 months, we are covering the cost, but they are doing other things that are potentially Medicaid billable, just to kind of explain. And they record information in their system, and if it is applicable, they of course record information on our system. But during that 9-month period, they're really not providing Medicaid billable services because they're providing it under the school system for students in school.
Any questions for Tracy? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item 8, receive and file, MOU between Macomb County Community Corrections and MCCMH for Engagement Center funding. Do I have a motion? Tracy?
So we're just drawing your attention to this. I believe we've told you this, but our engagement center beginning October 1st of 2025, opioid settlement funds. So Macomb County is using their opioid settle funds to pay for the rent and related expenses for the SUD engagement center. So we're very appreciative of it. That's what this is just acknowledging that formal relationship.
Any questions for Tracy? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item 10, vouchers. Request to approve vouchers for 8/16/25 through 9/19/25. Do we have a motion? Any questions on the vouchers? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay, so I skipped resolutions. There are no resolutions. We're going to move on to item 11, management report. And we got our CFOs.
All right, are we ready?
You ready?
I wasn't
Go.
sure procedurally if there was another step there.
No.
Good evening. So July 2025 financials, I guess the good news is, what we're going to present today has been pretty consistent with what we've seen all year, so no significant changes. And then I'll go through a few of the highlights here in the packet, and then Ken will have some of the things that are happening in the environment, some other topics from there. So looking at page, I don't have a page number here. Should be the graphs, revenue and eligible. Again, no significant change there. We're going to, on the eligibles, we had talked about seeing a decrease there. We've isolated that. It looks like it's mostly in the TANF, so we'll do some analysis there. Probably have to dig into the capitated detail report and see if we can identify anything that might be impacting that number. So that is an open analysis for us to see if there's anything significant happening there.
I'll just add to that too. We get, as the group knows, we're paid based on every eligible in the county. We don't see every person in the county for service, so we can bump up the payment detail against the people we serve, but it's a smaller percentage, and so it does put us somewhat at the mercy of the eligibility files from the state. We can ask questions. It's been a challenge. The plan first stuff kind of lingers around. We've had trouble with HSW payments that we've been able to recoup some from, so the analysis is not easy when it comes to this. So we're trying to put our finger on it, but it can be difficult.
Okay, next page is assets, liabilities. Again, no significant changes there. We continue to maintain any excess cash in the treasurer office for investment. No material change on the next page. So unless there are questions, I'm just going to go over to our fund source summary. So looking at 2025 actual, looking at the Medicaid bucket, we have a $20.7 million surplus. Healthy Michigan, $21,000 surplus. The CCBHC Medicaid, there too, we have $2.4 million surplus. And in the Healthy Michigan, $312,000 surplus. Now, there's some costs that Ken will probably speak to. You want to do it now, or you want to wait till you get to
No,
your
the only
comments?
thing I was gonna touch on is that $20 million surplus in Medicaid does not include some of the things we talked about as part of budget.
Yep.
You know, the plan on retroing back some dollars to our specialized residential and hospital partners into 25, carrying that into 26. So that's several $1 million that will bring the Medicaid surplus down, likely drive Healthy Michigan into a deficit, which is okay. We kind of settle those two together. So when we talk about adding those together, but wanted to call that out for the group in the first two boxes there.
Yeah, and those payments are going to go out in September, so you won't see the impact of that until the actual September financial statement. So next month, when we report August, you're still not going to see the impact of that, but we are going to push those dollars into this fiscal year. No change in the risk reserve in the ISF. It maintains the same numbers. On the next page, CCBHC non-Medicaid, there too, it's the area that we've been monitoring. Looking at our redirect, $3.5 million that's coming out of the state general fund, so you can see that offsetting. So when you look at the state general fund, it is in a deficit, but it's driven by that non-Medicaid transfer. If you just look at the state general fund, the 6.1 million to the 5.6, those funds are actually in a surplus position as well. And the final bucket is the all other. We're looking at $15 million there. A good chunk of that is our investment income as we continue to maintain those dollars with the treasurer. So
I do want to highlight the CCBHC non-Medicaid. We did hear what our amount was going to be for that. I think it was roughly the same as last year's, about $360,000. So obviously a far cry. If you add the 360 plus the 258, that's roughly $600,000 compared to our $3.8 million in expense. So there continues to be a disparity there. $5 million spread over more CCBHCs with no increase. It continues. Actually kind of happy that we were even in the ballpark of last year, considering those things. We've added some new ones. So I just wanted to bring that.
yeah, so unless there were questions on the other part of the package, Ken might have some comments here. Selena?
I have a question. What is the budget from Lansing for the CCBHCs? Is there going to be a budget item for it, or are we going to just keep running this into the ground with no expectation of it carrying forward in the new budget?
The state budget right now is
I know it's a hot
it's
mess.
a question mark. I'm assuming that there's going to be funding for that. It'd be a wild change, frankly, if they didn't. You know, we're going to the CCBHC direct pay. Everybody's sinking an inordinate amount of resources into that. And then not to have the funding would be surprising, to say the least. So
Okay.
the demonstration does end, I believe, at the end of 27. So should that not be renewed, that's a problem for 28.
Okay.
Right. So
Thank you.
And I don't want to misspeak, but there is so, remember you have the House budget, the governor's budget, and then the Senate's budget, and then at some point, the actual budget. Each of those do actually have CCBHC dollars in them. They just vary dramatically in each one of them. So we'll see where it lands. So I think there'll be funding, it's just at what level.
correct.
Yeah.
That leads me into my first point. The pending, the government, the state budget, not done. Pending government shutdown, right? That's something we have on the horizon. We don't have a ton of great information from the state right now about what that looks like for any of our funding buckets. Richard reached out specifically regarding grants, as those have different rules, right? Whether that, we call it the period of performance, basically when you can expend those dollars, are they going to shift that back based on the budget? Unclear. We don't have an answer to that. We spoke earlier, Tracy and Helen and myself, about not an interest in cutting services to folks right now to cover that. There is some risk there that we have exposure to cover. SUD services would be out of PA2, should they not. We have 25 million-ish in PA2 reserves for times like these, right? To cover those services and not, and particularly with treatment, to not have people lose their treatment related to that. The same on the mental health side. We're had some discussion earlier today at leadership about those targeted expenditures. If there's things that training was the example used, if that's occurring in October, maybe we move it to December to try to spread those out. So those discretionary spend items, we're doing what we can to move that. Richard and I spoke about Medicaid and feel that I think he said like 10 years ago we were in a similar spot, and at the time it was thought that and it is an entitlement to folks, the Medicaid benefit that's passed through the state, so that funding would continue. We continue to operate under that paradigm and not to cut services on 10-1. But we ultimately don't know. So,
Nick?
If I could just comment a little bit, because I've lived through several of these in the past. The Constitution is very clear. It says no money can be spent out of the state treasury, no warrant can be written except pursuant to an appropriation. Now, there's some carryovers projects, but without an appropriation bill, you can't spend them. You can't spend the federal dollars either, because the federal dollars come to the state and go into the state treasury in segregated accounts. So you've got a real problem. In the past, the shutdowns we've experienced have lasted either a few hours or a couple of days, and even that created a lot of headaches, because there are people who are being asked to come to work without any guarantee that they're going to be paid. That has happened several times over the last few decades. The reality is, what's concerning this time is two things. One, we're seeing both the federal and the state looking at a shutdown at the same time. That's a problem. But secondly, what has happened is the bills which ordinarily would be in conference committees by now haven't gotten to that step, and the targets, the amount of money that can go into each of the 20 budgets roughly, which is a decision generally made by the leadership, haven't been set, and the leadership's meetings have virtually not happened. There may have been some within the last few days. I'm talking about the state level. At the federal level, there was supposed to be one today with the Democratic leadership, and the president canceled it. He didn't like what they were saying, so he didn't want to hear it. That's really a problem. If you don't get the two sides talking, they're always going to have differences of opinion, and that's fine, but they've got to talk in order to try to reach a compromise or a resolution. And at this point, it's getting very scary. We heard back in April that at the state level, that the speaker passed a bare bones, what he's called like a continuation budget, but it's not. It's a major cut budget that the Senate hasn't taken up, so it can't get into conference. But what you've got is a situation where these budgets, the lack of communication, we had heard in April that Matt Hall, the speaker, was interested in closing the government down for some reason I can't figure out. None of us took that, well, we took it seriously, but none of us were real concerned Come August, that changed and the concern got greater with the fiscal year ending Wednesday. It's a real concern now. The last time I talked to the Senate Majority Leader, Winnie Brinks, I saw her while we were up there for the rally. She just shrugged because they've passed a budget, but there's no communications going and there's no movement to get them into conference committees. And if you don't get them into a conference committee, you can't negotiate. And if you can't negotiate, you can't get agreement. So it's looking like we could actually end up with payless paydays for the first time since the Williams administration.
So I think, hear what you're saying, Nick, and
The good news for us, I'm sorry, is that for our services, we've got enough money to carry us through, 2 months, I think. And if they haven't finished this in 2 months, there are much bigger problems than ours.
Just to jump to conclude, I agree. We're from our organization and the people we serve, because I want to make sure that message is clear and public. No one's services will be interrupted. We have a plan both on the SUD side and the mental health side to ensure that nothing is missed. No one will know the difference. And then we also have a plan if it's October 31st and we still don't know. What does that mean on that day? And then for a minute. So we don't see this being a concern. And I would encourage you, if you're talking to somebody in the public, that their services will not be interrupted. This is not a concern that they need to be worried about anytime soon. And we will keep you guys abreast as that changes and evolves. And if it's several months from now, we might be then making some different decisions, but we're good for now, just to reiterate kind of what you're saying. I just don't want anybody to hear the message anything other than that.
Thank you.
yes. CCBHC claims, we've been doing a lot of work on that. I think those are mostly in at this point. I'd like to change the look of our reporting to break the CCBHCs down, but we have claims are being paid, but need to figure out some of the encounter data issues. So that's why it's not in this report, but plan to have that forthcoming. I mentioned CCBHC direct pay. I don't know what to say about that. We're in the best position we can to go live with it. It's our tentative estimate when talking to our billing manager, probably end of October before we can submit like a legitimate batch. Now, should the government still be in shutdown? Maybe it's paid. So we're having. There's a ton of inefficiencies that have resulted of this switch, how quickly it was done. But I think we're managing as best we can to be able to bill those services, as we mentioned. I think conservatively we could survive, let me check. 6 or 7 months of cash flow based on what we have here. So
That's not our goal, though.
not the goal, but to weather that, the CCBHC, we're in a fortunate position. Others are not so lucky. So the state had not, they were talking about advance of cash flow at one time, that was squashed, but we're fortunate not to need that. I mentioned during the budget presentation that I reached out to the state about answers on the actuary information that was provided. I have not heard back on that. So I'm going with that being our worst case scenario that was presented. Hopefully we get better information and it goes up, but I wanted to update that. That was an open item. And then I already covered this one in the other piece. So, any other questions?
Okay, well, thank you. We're going to move on to item 11B, which is the CEO update.
Mine will be short. Earlier today, 8:15-ish, give or take in the morning, you received the board report. If you haven't checked it out, please do so. There are several news and media articles, newspapers, videos, news stories about the rally. I want to make sure to acknowledge and thank, I do mention it in the board update, but Nick was integral part of not just the rally and the press conference, but also the open letter. He helped design that and he signed it. So I just want to make sure everybody knows that he has been amazing and going above and beyond on a regular basis. And the volume of time that he's spending, I think, I know I should be more appreciative. So thank you. I know there were several board members that went to the rally. So thank you, Lori. Thank you, Jackie. I know, and if you didn't see it, I said this in the newsletter also, but Antoinette was almost pretty famous too. She did an outstanding job. She was quoted in several medias. Her quotes were infamous in the most positive way possible. So I greatly appreciate all that you also did, and of course everything that everybody else is doing behind the scenes. So again, if you haven't, please take a few minutes to check out all those stories, because it very much paints the picture of what's happening in the state of Michigan. Secondly, I will only take a second, but keep in mind, remember, every month we said we're going to try to continue to educate you as board members about the services that we provide, what we do and how we do it. So in the board report this month is child parent psychotherapy. This is like what we call, again, our rack cards. Remember, our front and back. So when you get the pretty one, it's not stapled like this, but these are available electronically. It's in the board report. But if you summarized it, it's a type of approach that is taken for individuals, kids, and their family members who might have experienced a traumatic event, traditionally years 0 to 5. In this little rack card, it kind of explains the concept. I know you guys all have very, very busy schedules, but I would just encourage you to take a few minutes, only take a few minutes just to read this, so at least it sounds familiar to you, right? So when you're in the community, you have a better idea of all the amazing things that are available to the people that we serve. The last thing I want to do is today, earlier midday, give or take, maybe it was the morning, I don't recall, the CMHA, the state association, did publicly share its video on the PHP procurement. So Sandy is going to get it going, and if we could just take a minute to watch it. So this got released earlier today. We will be sharing it on social media, sharing it with other individuals. It was not in your board report because we just got it today. Oh, it was so good, we're going to watch it twice. So we will share it with you. We would encourage you to share it. Obviously, it summarizes the scenario that we find ourselves in. So that is the highlight of mine. I think that summarizes.
Okay, well, thank you. Any questions for Tracy? Okay, we're going to move on to 12. Item 12, which is other possible agenda items. Just a reminder, the CMH program and budget meeting is going to be Wednesday, October 8th. The CMH Board Recipient Rights Advisory Committee is Thursday, October 16th at 8 a.m. And the CMH Full Board meeting will be here Wednesday, October 22nd at 6 p.m. Moving on to item 13, any provider comments? Okay. Any hearing of the public? Anybody from the public that would like to speak? No? Okay, we're going to move on to item 15, which is a closed session. Motion to move into a closed session?
think you have to do the roll call.
We're going to do a roll call. Jackie? Yes.
Yeah. Yes.
Lori? Myself, yes. Dana?
Yes.
Antoinette? Sharita? Julia? Nick?
Yes.
Wayne? We're going to go into a closed session.
So we're back in open session?
Yes.
We are going to make a motion to the bylaw document and interlocal agreement consideration.
Madam Chair, I move that we urge the Macomb County Board of Commissioners to move forward on an interlocal agreement and on an internal, or a Macomb County PIHP, is that what we're calling it? Yeah. The interlocal agreement and, that's my good friend, Scam Likely. That we urge the Macomb County Board of Commissioners to enter into an interlocal agreement for the purposes under the Urban Cooperation Act, and that they create a prepaid inpatient health plan freestanding entity within the county as quickly as possible. Does that do it for you? No.
Pretty technical.
Okay. Although, do we do anything on next motion, or should?
Well,
That's all right. If you've got, you can, if you've got a clarification on me, we'll accept it as a friendly amendment.
let's do a clarification with a friendly amendment to Nick.
Okay, so here's my clarification, that, to clarify Nick's motion, my clarification is that we urge the board of, the Macomb County Board of Commissioners that our draft bylaws and, consider entering into an
Okay.
support.
Aye.
Any opposed? I need a motion to adjourn.
Yay.
Second, third? Hey. You guys are killing me. Oh.